family is holding a vigil following the untimely death of their loved one. News 12 Connecticut's Frank Recchia with that story.
We knew nothing what was going on.
57-year-old Dorothy Rawls of Bridgeport says she is hoping and praying for a light at the end of the tunnel after 2 weeks of what she describes as the most painful experience she and her family have ever had to endure.
We want to know why our sister was treated like a Jane Doe. Nobody notified us. No, it's almost like they wanted to disappear and for us to disappear.
Rawls says her sister, 53-year-old Brenda Lee Rawls, was found dead under what the family describes as mysterious circumstances in a house on Pearl Harbor Street, December 12th. The whole family joined together in a Christmas morning prayer vigil, each member sharing words charged with emotion.
I love you, Brenda. I will never, ever forget you. You will always be in my mind, in my heart. I love you.
Somebody, please, talk to us. Tell us something.
Bridgeport officials say they're investigating, and it usually takes between 6 and 8 weeks for the medical examiner to release a cause of death. The family says Brenda was a hard worker with a good full-time job who was in perfect health and lived a responsible life, which is why they say they're dumbfounded by her sudden, unexpected death. But regardless of how she died, the family says they should have been notified.
We had to figure out everything on our own. No one took the courtesy to inform a relative.
And we're not going to stop until we get some type of answers.
The family says when they went to the police department looking for answers, they were told nobody could help them. On a bleak Christmas they will never forget, the family says they hope now police will hear what they have to say.
Please look into sensitivity training for all your officers. That's all I want to say.
In Bridgeport, Frank Recchia, News 12, Connecticut.
And city officials say they've extended their condolences to the family and they're going to look into this matter.
Hi guys, so I just wanted to come and touch on a story that I saw today, which is very disturbing because I'm kind of wondering as well why the local media didn't make this connection, because we have been out here talking about the Lauren Phil Smith story at least for close to a month, right? I would say close to a month. And so they didn't make the connection that I think her name is Bridget Rawls or Brenda Rawls. Brenda Rawls. She passed away the same day as Lauren, and nothing was done. I mean, both situations was handled the same. They pretty much took their bodies to the medical examiner and did nothing else. And using this excuse that they're waiting on the medical examiner, I've never heard of that. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that, unless they're trying to say, and first of all, Lauren was in her apartment, so they can't pretend like they didn't know who she was and that her identity wasn't available for them. It sounds like Brenda's identification may have been left at home because she walked down the street to a guy's house 2 or 3 houses away to visit, and she informed one of her family members that she was going to do that night. So they didn't think anything of it, not hearing from her at least a couple days, but they said a couple of the family members were calling her and leaving her messages, and once the 3rd day hit, they realized that she's not returning calls, that something was wrong. And so they went to her home, they contacted the police. The police didn't know anything, and so whichever one of her family members she informed that she was going down the street to visit this guy remembered that she told her that, or him, and they went down the street to that person's house, and that's how they found out that she had died. The guy actually said to them that she had passed away the morning of the next day, just like Lauren, like they literally passed away, died the same day, the next morning. And so he was also saying that he still had her clothing there. And I understand she may have lived alone, so maybe if he would have went down to her house, no one is there. I don't know. I don't really know what her setup was. But obviously, you know, as well, if she was just walking 2 or 3 houses over, she probably did not feel the need to carry her purse down there. So maybe she didn't have her ID on. I'm trying to give this whole story the benefit of the doubt because they're trying to say she was tagged as a Jane Doe. But I feel like they tagged Lauren that way as well. But Lauren was in her apartment. So they should have been able to find some form of identification for Lauren. Okay, and so I don't understand the lack of you know, of people just doing their jobs, right? Unless they're trying to say that they don't have officers to do their jobs. I don't know what they're trying to say, but you know, her family is saying that by the time they found her body, the medical examiner was getting ready to move her to a funeral home. And I believe after so much time goes by, they cremate, right? I think they cremate unknowns. So that's kind of disheartening that the police would make no form of attempt to question that man about who this lady was, because he clearly knew who she was. I don't believe that. I don't believe he lived 3 houses from her and just picked up some random woman off the street. And then he should have been arrested if he did. Because you know, like I said, both of these stories are kind of weird because these men did not know these women very well, or maybe if they did not know them very well, I don't know. And if the guy down the street knew her well, then that means he knew her name, right? So he knew who she was. And you have to wonder why they didn't do more them as well to contact the family members. Because I feel like anybody would want that, right? You would want someone to contact your family if you pass away in my presence. You would want me to contact your loved ones. And so whether they're trying to say they're guilty of something or not, you still should have done something to where you went on and made yourself at least look like you were not up to something sinister, because that's the way it looks. But let me know what you guys think about this story, because I find it just odd the way both stories were handled. From what I'm reading, the police chief, she is a temporary, and maybe that has something to do why they're not doing whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. I don't know. And maybe they had to fire whoever was there for some obvious reasons as well. I don't know. But yeah, the whole story sounds crazy because I don't think I've ever heard of this. And the other thing that I'm thinking is, like, I wonder if they're treating everyone like this. Because even if you know, people did not die that same day as Lauren and Brenda, somebody else died in Bridgeport. Okay, let's be honest about that. I'm just wondering if everyone is getting the same treatment, or if this is a racial issue, because it's odd that what these two women have in common is that they're both black, and then the media didn't make a connection between these stories as well, that both these stories happened on the same day. I guess Lauren's story really did not hit the media like Brenda's, maybe for some days later, because obviously these people's families were not being notified what was going on, right, with their loved ones. So maybe they found out what happened to them on different days. But I still wonder why the media didn't make that connection sooner, because this story came out today. I'm not holding. Sometimes I do hold stuff and come and talk about it, but this is not something that I'm holding. This story just broke today, that there is a connection like that there was two black women with the same story. So I'm kind of curious to know how other people are being treated in Bridgeport when someone dies. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.